the poor old Duke of York is quite limited as to where he can go because he obviously doesn't want to be photographed and then subsequently criticized. So his world is very narrow. He will obviously go to Balmoral. He loves Balmoral. He's been there every other year. And I think, he can find a bit of refuge there, away from cameras and prying eyes. And also, it gives him a chance to see, members of the rest of his family. Um, just because the world is anti him doesn't mean that his family is anti him. And I think that his family actually believe him. They believe, what he is saying is true. And he's certainly, his mother, the late Queen, believed him. But it doesn't alter the fact that the world doesn't believe him or doesn't want to believe him. And he made a real mess in that interview that he did. Now it's sort of 5 or 6 years ago, I think, might even be longer, the Newsnight interview, by appearing so arrogant and sort of not at all apologetic about what he's supposed to have done. So I think there is no coming back. We know there's no coming back for him. So he has to kind of reconstruct a different sort of life. And it has been said, why doesn't he sort of go and live in the north of Scotland, in some remote place? Well, maybe that's what he will have to do. But Andrew sort of clings on to the fact that he is the Duke of York, the Queen's second, the late Queen's second son, and he's very aware of his royalty and who he is, which of course is, partly been his undoing. Well, I don't think Andrew is actually as financially insecure as we think, because the late Queen knew, by the time she died, she knew that her favourite son was in serious trouble, and I'm absolutely convinced she would have made provisions for him. I think unless Andrew went to one of the sort of Arab states where he once had a house or was given a house, he'd find it very difficult to go abroad because someone somewhere would spot him, with a telephone camera, and then it would go straight to the picture, would go straight to the sun, and he would be then hounded. So I think in this age of media sensitivity and and the internet and phone photographs, a man is a prisoner. I think he would be hounded. So really, the safest place for him is up at Balmoral. Well, I'm sure I'm sure he's probably very low about missing so many events and, not being able to take part any longer. I mean, he certainly is a member of the Order of the Garter, but he didn't parade down the hill with the rest of them. But he did join in for the Garter luncheon. So there's things he does behind the scenes. He spends a lot of his time riding because the Windsor Mews is right there. But I think since there were so many photographs of him out riding, he's sort of taken a more circuitous route there. He also plays golf. There's a private golf course on Home Park. So he does have things to do, but they're very minimal. And I think at one time he was spending a lot of time trying to defend himself with potentially launching another court case to defend himself. But I think that's all gone by the wayside. And he does have a few friends there, many less than there were. So I think that his days I think what he really lacks is a purpose. And unless he's planning some big charity comeback, or albeit he would be below the sort of publicity, he wouldn't necessarily be seen. I don't know what he can be doing with his time, but it's quite easy to fill a day, as we all know. If you have a job, but if you don't, it's not so easy. He has a very, very good relationship with his daughter's children, and I think that's one of the main things that sustains him. They all get on very, very well. He gets on extremely well with Princess Eugenie and Princess Beatrice, always has done. They've had their fallouts, and I think it's been incredibly difficult for them to have a father so disgraced. but he does see a lot of his grandchildren and enjoys spending time with them. And I think because they know that he's kind of stuck at Royal Lodge, if you like, that they will, go out of their way to go and see him rather than him coming and seeing them. Yes, extraordinarily enough, they are a united family together. And I think that obviously, I'm pretty sure Fergie will go to Balmoral with Andrew, and they often stay in one of, there's a lot of cottages, well, they're houses to us on the Balmoral estate. And so, I mean, they'll stay in one of those if they don't stay in the main castle. And so, in essence, that's a very, very private holiday for Andrew, and he won't be photographed unless he decided to go to Crathy Church. But otherwise, he wouldn't be photographed, and be he can be there and see what's going on. And I think it's a place he's always loved. So, and hopefully he can be there with his children and grandchildren. Oh yes, he totally interacts with the rest of the family. They are not going to, they're not holding in judgment against him. I think they rally round him actually, and make sure that he feels wanted. Regardless of what they might think he has or has not done. I think they're not going to shun their brother, because he's been accused of something that he says is absolutely not true. I think they've been very more than fair with him. Their private thoughts, I don't know, but they have been more than fair with him during these sort of family outings.